Ask any Christian about technology today and its impact on this world, and nearly all will state that it's a mostly negative impact. Some things are more negative than others, but it's mostly negative. But let's think about some things in particular. What about AI and transhuman genetic manipulation? Could they actually be not of this world? Could they be fallen angel or Nephilim technology? Is this similar to what happened in the Old Testament, to the giving of technology by fallen angels to the descendants of Cain before the flood, as recorded in Genesis? Is the giving of advanced technology now part of what Jesus meant when he said the days before his return would be like the days of Noah? That's a very interesting topic, I think, for all of us, and it's what we're talking about today in this video. Let's start with the history of what happened in the original days of Noah when fallen angels shared technology with mankind, specifically the descendants of Cain. If you look at your Bible, you will see that all those who initiated technological advances were from the line of Cain. In fact, they were from one family. They weren't from the righteous line of Seth, but like I said, they were from the family of Lamech. So it not only happened in one family, it happened at one point in time. Don't you find that interesting? Let's look at it. Ada bore Jabal. He was the father of those who dwelt in tents and have livestock. His brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of those who play the lyre and the pipe. Zillah also bore Tubal-Cain. He was the forger of instruments of bronze and iron. The sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. Genesis 4:20 through 22. Like I said, if you just read it, it seems kind of innocent until you think about it. Why did only one man figure out how to make a tent and raise livestock? One guy learned to make metal objects, and one guy create music and musical instruments. And they're all from the same family, and it's all at the same time. That just doesn't make sense. These things that should have taken hundreds of years, that should have happened throughout many different families, none of that makes sense unless these things were given to them by an otherworldly force. So let's combine it with what we learned from the book of Enoch from the Dead Sea Scrolls, which gives us much greater information about where this technology came from and how it was being utilized. You will see that fallen angels gave this technology to men. They, the Nephilim, began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink their blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. Enoch 3:10. First, how did the Nephilim sin against animal life? Was it by eating them? Well, some believe that. Was it by trying to genetically manipulate them? Look at the mythology of the world. It's full of chimeric animals, part lion, part human, part goat, part man, etc., etc., etc. Some with 3 heads, some with 4 heads. The ancient world was full of stories about fantastic-looking creatures. Were these myths the result of a vivid imagination only? Or did genetic manipulation of animals actually take place and things like this were actually seen? We now have technology just like that. At the University of California at Davis, they combined pig and human embryos and allowed them to grow for 28 days before terminating the pregnancy. If fallen angels were on the earth at that time, couldn't they have possessed technology that we have today? We'd have to say yes. And of course, there was human genetic manipulation as well. When man began to multiply on the face of the land and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. They were the mighty men of old, men of renown. Genesis 6, 1, 2, and 4. This wasn't a technology that produced this human genetic defilement, but it still was genetic manipulation. Nama, the sister of Tubal-Cain that we spoke of in the previous verses up in Genesis, her name meant lovely or beautiful, just as Genesis 6:2 says about the daughters of men. Was she one of the wives of the fallen angels? We don't know. But it is interesting to speculate because she comes from that same family, Lamech's family. Cain's line ends with Nama. So genetic manipulation was a big part of what the days of Noah entailed. And genetic manipulation of humans, or what we call transhumanism today, is a major component of what the globalists and the World Economic Forum leaders want to achieve. In the near future, they literally want to create a new human species that are supermen and women, possibly with greater extended lifespans and intelligence. This is an important detail of what they have planned because Jesus came to save humans, not a new human species. Changing your species and becoming a new species is a salvation issue, one that causes someone to not be able to be saved because Jesus came to save people, not something else. If everyone was a member of this new species, Jesus' blood shed on the cross would be made meaningless. So the question is this technology that is being considered to change humans and the human genome, is it the result of human effort only? Or is it also the inspiration of fallen angels? How can we know? We can't know. We can only surmise. But if there was one technology that Satan and his fallen angels would want to promote, it would be this one, eliminating even the chance of salvation for anyone with this change, or what they will probably call an upgrade. Currently, scientists are working on this type of technology, like we said, possibly under the inspiration of fallen angels whispering in their ears. However, in a very short while, Satan and his fallen angels will be cast out of heaven and will end up on the earth in physical form, just like they were back in the days of Noah. And the great dragon was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. Revelation 12:9. And those fallen angels will then assist unrepentant humans accomplish their evil schemes. When the fallen angels are physically present, they will be able to accelerate all these schemes. Look at what it says in the book of Daniel. He will deal with the strongest fortresses with the help of a foreign god. Daniel 11:39. Who is this foreign god other than Satan or one of his angels? This particular help happens to sound military. And genetic changes are only one part of what happened back in the days of Noah. Development of military equipment was another aspect of what the fallen angels did at the time of Noah. Let's look at the work of a second fallen angel, Azazel. And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working, and bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones and coloring tinctures. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication and became corrupt in all their ways. Enoch 3:11-12. Azazel taught men to make implements of war, and women to adorn themselves with cosmetics to make them alluring, which led to sexual immorality. So we have to ask about our modern times. You're probably aware that the implements of war now can cause extraordinary destruction. That's something else the Antichrist is said to be able to cause. Daniel 8:24. So will Azazel give the Antichrist a weapon. We know the rider of the red horse is given a weapon, a great sword, in Revelation 6:4. So it is possible that the fallen angels will give the Antichrist weapons to tip the balance of power in the world. And yes, this is entirely possible. Who knows what kind of weapons these might be? Lasers, nuclear, whatever. probably things we haven't even imagined because it's fallen angel, alien technology. Azazel also gives women means of adornment. In 1 Peter 3:3, he warns us against making adornment external. Azazel's gifts seem intended to increase pride and allurement, both sinful. Is it possible there is a technology aspect to this as well? Well, it's hard to say, but given that what has been will be again, I would not be surprised that a technological means of adornment is coming. In fact, this might be one of the purposes of the metaverse, where people can create an avatar to make themselves look any way that they want. In Enoch 3:13 through 14, we read about some of the gifts of the other fallen angels back in Noah's day. Semjaza taught enchantments. Barakwal taught astrology. Kokabel, the constellations. Ezequiel, the knowledge of the clouds. Araquel, the signs of the earth. Shamsiel, the signs in the sun. And Sariel, the course of the moon. And as men perished, notice they were perishing because of these things, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. Notice these things all seem related to magic arts. And, as we said, they were related to the death of men. So they were being used in a horrible way to kill. Now, what kinds of technology is related to magic? Definitely the Great Hadron Collider at CERN. The CERN Collider poses as a massive science experiment exploring the nature of matter and energy, but it's something very different. Another expressed purpose of the experiment is to open portals into other dimensions and bring what is out there in, or allow us into those other dimensions. This is the very nature of what the occult is: ceremonies to summon demons. And a statue of an Indian deity, Shiva, their god of destruction, is prominently displayed on the CERN grounds, dancing through a circle which appears to be a portal, although no one at CERN will admit this. The experiment is really more occult ceremony than science. This has massive prophetic implications. Satan and his demons are cast out of heaven, as we mentioned before, onto the earth in Revelation 12, and in Revelation 9, the bottomless pit is opened, and demonic locust-like creatures invade the earth. Both of these biblical events imply demons going from one dimension to another, the very stated purpose of CERN. Was this technology inspired by fallen angels? Angels would be just itching for a way to enter this world from the dimension they're currently in. Although it can't be proved, I would think the answer is a definitive yes, that this is also fallen angel technology, that they are inspiring those that can influence to create a means for them to enter this world. Although most corporations, tend to try to avoid connection with any kind of spirituality or the spiritual world, CERN has chosen to prominently place this Hindu god Shiva on its property. But it's not just any Hindu god. Shiva is the ancient god of destruction, the Hindu version of Apollo, or as the Bible calls him, Apollyon. Yes, from Revelation 9, the king of the bottomless pit. CERN's official written explanation of why Shiva is present is as follows, quote, "The Shiva statue was a gift from India. In the Hindu religion, Lord Shiva," notice they call him Lord, "practiced Naharaja dance, which symbolizes Shakti, or the life force. This deity was chosen by the Indian government because of a metaphor that was drawn between the cosmic dance of the Naharaj and the modern study of the cosmic dance of subatomic particles," end of quote. CERN presents this as if Shiva was some kind of innocent myth, whereas the listeners of this channel already know that the pagan gods like Zeus or Shiva were just avatars for demonic fallen angels, for demons. So you're probably wondering, as I was, what is this Naharaj dance that Shiva does? The dance associated with the destruction of the world, no less. Shiva destroys in order to recreate, tearing down everything to build it again. Kind of sounds like a great reset, doesn't it? You have to break everything down if you're going to reset it, but I digress. But what I find most interesting is the flaming circle that Shiva is dancing in. It sure looks like a portal to another world. And you know, that's the stated purpose of CERN, to open portals to other dimensions. CERN's Director of Research and Scientific Computing, Sergio Bertolucci, grabbed headlines when he told a British tabloid that the collider could actually open otherworldly portals to another dimension for, quote, a very tiny lapse of time, unquote, merely fractions of a second. However, that may be just enough time to, quote, peer into this open door, either by getting something out of it or sending something into it. It would be a major leap in our vision of nature, and of course, there would be no risk to the stability of our world. End of quote. Really, Sergio? No risk? Now, understandably, this comment triggered fears that CERN and the CERN Collider could unwittingly invite unwanted visitors from other time-space dimensions. And this is exactly what is pictured by the Shiva statue, stepping through a portal into this world. It's what they want. It's what they're working for. And although Sergio thinks the portal is only open for a millisecond, once the destroyer, Shiva, is in this world, isn't it likely he will hold the door open for all the demons he wants to follow? So let's further examine the war in heaven that leads to the expulsion of Satan and his angels into this earth. Exactly what we're talking about, what CERN wants to do. Click right here to learn how Michael, the archangel, and God's good angels cast Satan and his bad angels out, when they do it, and how they do it. Till then, this is Nelson, and I'll see you there.